Hey everybody, I am going to walk through Drifting Blues. It's mainly the Eric Clapton version. There's a lot of different blues guys that have done this, but I like the Eric Clapton version the best. And so I am going to try to teach that to the best of my ability here today. Please excuse any birds or dogs or anything that happens. I am outdoors, so who knows what we'll hear. But anyways, okay, so I'm going to try to do this in 3 parts and keep it as short and sweet as I can. So basically, we're going to do the basics of the song, and then I'll show you some licks that you can do on top of the basics, and then a little solo that I saw Clapton play in both this, and he kind of plays it in Before You Accuse Me off of his Unplugged album as well. Okay, so Drifting Blues is a 12-bar blues in E, and that is the basis of it. So 12-bar blues goes a little bit like this. You're going to do 4 counts of the 1 chord, which in this case is an E, but we're going to do kind of a shuffle. So what that is you're going to go open E string, and then your A string, you're going to the 2nd fret. So that's going to be a B note, but it's going to be the 2nd fret of the A string. And then you're just going to use your ring finger to go down to the 4th fret of the A string. And you're going to kind of alternate between those. Okay, so it would be like this. I'm drifting and drifting, 4. I'm drifting and drifting. Now, this is a little different than a normal 12-bar blues in that it doesn't just stay on the 1 for 4 counts. So instead, it's going to jump to the A chord, or the A7, which in this case would be the 4. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go, I'm drifting and drifting. And rather than that, you go to the A, which is the same exact thing you were doing here, which is the open E string and the 2nd fret of the B into the 4th fret of the A string. Sorry. And then you're just going to drop all that down. So you're going to do the open fret of the A string, the 2nd fret of the D string, and the 4th fret of the D string. Okay, and you're going to do that same shuffle. So you go, I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. And then you're going back to your shuffle with the E. I'm drifting and drifting. So then it's the next. So what happens in a 12-bar blues typically is the first line of the song, or excuse me, the first line of the verse is going to repeat. So in this case, it's I'm drifting and drifting, down to your A, just like a ship out on the sea. I'm drifting and drifting. And when it repeats, you're going to stay on A this time. Just like a ship out on the sea. And the last thing you're going to do is you're going to switch to a B7. So if you know what a B7 is, we'll walk through that really quickly. You're going to take your middle finger. You're not going to play the low E string. You're going to take your middle finger, and you're going to do the 2nd fret of the A string. You're going to take your pointer finger, the 1st fret of the D string. Your ring finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the G. You're going to leave the B string open, and then your pinky finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the high E. So that is a B7. And what you're going to do before you go to the B7 is on the A string, you're going to do a walk up. Okay, so it's going to be open A, and then the 1st fret, which is a B flat, 1st fret of the A string, and then you're going to start right there with your middle finger on the 2nd fret, which is a B note. Okay, so that's your B string with your walk up. Okay, so we'll go from the top. So you got drifting and drifting to your A, just like a ship out on the sea. Back to your E. I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. Back to A, or excuse me, E. All right, here's your walk up. Well, I ain't got nobody, B7. Okay, and now you're gonna go to an A7, or a long A7 in this case, is what we're gonna call it. So what an A7 in this case would be is basically what you're doing is you are leaving the A string open, and then you are barring meaning you're using your pointer finger to get all of the strings underneath that. So that's going to be the 2nd fret of the D, the G, the B, and the E. Okay, so that's that. But then you're going to use your middle finger, and you're going to put that on the 3rd fret of the high E string. Okay, so that's your A7. Now, that's going to sound the best. You could also do this A7, which is just the open A, and then the 2nd fret of the D, open G, 2nd fret of the B, and then an open high E. Either one works. I like the long A a little bit better. It just sounds a little nice. You can also throw your pinky all the way down to the 5th fret of the high E string if you want, just to give it a different sound. But either way, it's up to you. So after you do the walk up, okay, and then it's time for the turnaround. So after the A7, you're going to hit a regular E7. Now an E7 is going to be the open E string. Then you're going to have the 2nd fret with your middle finger of the A string, open D string, 1st fret of the G, open B, and then an open high E. Okay? And then you're going to do a walk down. You can also use your pinky on that E7 and throw it down on the B string of the 3rd fret. It's going to give it a cool little sound there too. But you don't have to. It's up to you. Okay, so after this, so we'll go from the top. So we got drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. I'm drifting and drifting to our A there, just like a ship out on the sea. Walk up and I ain't got nobody, A7 in this world to care for me. Okay, you hit your E7. Now, after that, you're just gonna do another walk up to a B7, and that's your turnaround. And then you start over in the next verse. Give her all my money. Do the same thing. No, what else can I do? That's the same thing the entire song, okay? So that is the basics. If you learn that, you know how to play Driftin' Blues. But there's some things that you can add to it to kind of spice it up, make it sound even more bluesy, impress folks. And so that's what we're going to learn next. So that's the first part of the lesson. Let's do the second part, which is just some embellishments, some things you can add to it to sound pretty cool. Okay, first thing that Clapton likes to do when he starts a song in E is at the very beginning of the song, okay? And you're going to have a pick in your hand. I'm using a pick for this song, but you can actually just kind of put the pick back, still hold it. This is a little difficult. Some people are able to, I'm not able to do this. They keep it here and then they use their fingers underneath. I can't do that. I just hide it so that I can use my thumb, and then I'm going to use my middle finger and my ring finger on my right hand to kind of brush these bottom 3 strings, because that's all we're going to need, which is the G, B, and E. Okay, so it's going to sound a little bit like this to start it. Alright, so what that is you're taking a D7. So if you know a D7, that would be on the G string, 2nd fret, then the B string, 1st fret, and then the high E string, 2nd fret. Okay? Now what you're doing is you're taking that shape and you are sliding it up 2 frets. Okay? So essentially a whole step, which would be an E. Alright, and so basically what that leaves you with is your middle finger is on the G string of the 4th fret, your pointer finger is on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then your ring finger is on the 4th fret of the high E. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to slide down to that shape, or rather slide up to that shape, okay? And while you're doing that, you're playing with your thumb the low E string. Okay, and this is kind of a Robert Johnson drone is what they call it, because what you're doing is you're kind of palm muting. You're using your right hand to palm mute, which I do throughout this song, even when I'm doing the You don't have to. You could leave it open until you get comfortable with that. And all you have to do to palm mute is kind of lay down your palm on the strings up here near the sound hole and just keep playing what you're doing. But you don't have to. Once you get comfortable with this, you can move to that. I think it sounds pretty cool. But anyways, going back to that shape that we just learned. All right, so what you want to do is you want to play like this. So what that is you're kind of alternating back and forth between the droning of the thumb and then brushing those bottom 3 strings. Again, that's the G, the B, and the E. Some people call it the top 3 strings, whichever one you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. Now I got a little cicada going in the background and birds going crazy, but hey, it is what it is. All right, so you're gonna take that and you're gonna start off. You're gonna slide in, go down a fret. So you're taking that same shape. All I'm doing, I'm not moving my fingers any. Like, I'm not changing the positioning of the fingers. I'm just sliding it down each time a fret. So everything's going down a fret. So you've got middle finger on the G of the 4th, pointer on the B of the 3rd, and then ring on the 4th of the high E, sliding that all 1 fret. So that would be the G is now on 3, your pointer finger is now on the B of the 2nd, and then your ring finger is now on the high E of the 3rd. You can do that again into what is technically a D7, okay? And then open back to your E7, and then guess what? It's just the turnaround, which you already learned, which is just the walk up, A, B flat, B, open 1, 2, B7, and then you're ready to start. I'm drifting and drifting. So what that would sound like is alternate, okay? So that's all that is, and then you're ready to start. All right, so let's look at some embellishments after you started, okay? Because once you get comfortable with going, I'm drifting and drifting, your E, just like a ship out on the sea. Oh, drop my pick. Keep that going, right? Once you're comfortable with that, you're gonna want to start throwing some cool stuff in to just sound even more bluesy. Because who doesn't want to sound more bluesy, right? It's the best type of music. You want to sound more bluesy. That's fun. All right, so you start there. All right, so here's one of the embellishments again. Okay, so what's going on there? Well, that would be I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. All right, so what are we doing there? We're doing I'm drifting and drifting, normal. Drifting and drifting. The only thing you're gonna add from your shuffle that we learned is before you go to the A, before you drop down, you're gonna do this cool little, it's kind of a walk up, okay? So it's on the low E string, you're gonna use your middle finger. So what that is on the middle finger, you're gonna go the low E string 3, and then your ring finger is the low E string 4, and then you're gonna go transitioning to your A. Just like a ship out on the sea. All right, now you're gonna go, so what that is again, drifting and drifting, just like a ship. So it's open E, 3, 4, A, and then you're right into your A, just like a ship out on the sea. And then rather than going back to your shuffle when you get back to the E, that's when you do this cool little lick. So it'd be, again, I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. So what that lick is it's basically out of an A7, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna play just single notes. So that is the high E string of 3. You can even bend that up a little bit, okay, to get like a kind of a half bend. Open, 3 of the B string, open. All right, and then you're gonna take the G string starting at the 2nd fret, and you're gonna slide it down to the 4th. Play the B string, 3rd fret, and then you're going to slide that G that you've got down at the 4th fret, slide it back to the 2nd, and then you're going to play it open, and then what are we going to do? We're just do the E7 chord and play the bottom 2 notes, which is that open B and E. So it's going to go. One thing I forgot to add there is after you play the open G, so the 2 open G, and then you're going to play the 2nd of the D, and that's when you're going to go into the E string. So all together, we'll do it slowly. I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. And on that A, when you switch to A, one thing I forgot to mention is you can do the same thing you were doing here with the walk up. You can do that on the A string too. The only difference is now it's going to be in the open A string, which is the 3rd and 4th fret of the A string, right? So same thing. So I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea, and then that lick. I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. Okay, the embellishment we added there is instead of going to when we go to the A chord, so it'd be the repetition of the first line, right? So I'm drifting and drifting. Add our things that we learned, just like a ship out on the sea. Got your. Drifting. All right, so before you go to your A, just take that middle finger and put it on the low E string, and you're just gonna kind of pull that down, and then into your A note. All right, so now you're gonna go into your A7 instead of doing this is the same A7 we learned in the turnaround. Okay, and then all you're gonna do really with that is I'm drifting and drifting. Repeat that, pulling down the 3rd fret of the low E string. And when I say pull down, it's just kind of like a bend down, right? You're just bending the string down a little bit, in back in the open, just like a ship out on the sea. And you're really gonna kind of emphasize those bottom 2 notes, which is the B and the high E string. Okay, so it's just like get really bluesy and kind of a little bit angry at the strings, I guess, because somebody just left you, right? That's what Driftin' Blues is all about. Just like a ship out on the sea. Can you do your little? You can do your lick again. Got nobody. Okay, now do your pull down from that 3rd fret on the low E string. In this world to care for me. Now I'm gonna teach you a fun turnaround to end that, to kind of so you got some licks under your belt there. This fun turnaround is really cool because you can actually use this technique all over the fretboard, but we don't have time for that today. But you can move it pretty much anywhere. You just have to kind of modify it a little bit because not everywhere's gonna have open strings. But I'm rambling. That's a different Robert Johnson song. Driftin' Blues is not Robert Johnson, so I've already messed up. But we'll keep going. Anyways, so what you want to do with this turnaround is you're gonna go take your middle finger and your ring finger. Okay, and this again is where you can kind of put the pick back, or if you're better than me, because I can't do this. I think Clapton does this, and that's why he's Clapton, and so many others that are much, much better than I. But I can't do that, so I just throw the pick back into my palm of my hand, and I use my thumb and my ring finger. No, it is not technical, but, you know, it gets the job done. Anyways, so what you're fretting, you're taking your middle finger and your ring finger, and you are placing them both on the 5th fret. Okay, and you're plucking just those 2 notes. So the A string of the 5th fret and the B string of the 5th fret. And those are the 2 notes you're plucking. All right, now to do a walk down, you're just gonna take your middle finger, switch it over to the pointer finger, and you're gonna keep, this is not moving, okay? So your ring finger is not moving, it's staying on the 5th fret of the B string. So you're gonna take that pointer finger, all right, and then you're gonna do a walk down. So you're doing these notes. Let's just look at the notes on the A string. They're gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay? So, but you're keeping, that's the hard part, is keeping that ring finger rooted. Now, you could use your pinky if you want to. Nobody says you can't. I like to do the ring finger. Totally up to you, whichever way you want to do it. But the gist of it, what you want it to sound like, is this. So, all that is again, you're going 5, plugging them together. Both of them are on 5. Now you're moving to the A strings of 4 and the B strings on the 5. Pluck that twice. Then you're moving the A strings on the 3rd fret and the ring finger still on the B string of the 5th. And then down to the 2nd. And then when you're done, when you get to the 2nd, that's when you do your walk up to the B7 that you already know. Then you're ready to go into the next verse. So if we put all those together with the embellishments, we have this. I'm drifting and drifting. Your walk up. Just like a ship out on the sea. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, so I'm drifting and drifting. I didn't add the little lick we like. To the A, it's like a ship out on the sea. I'm drifting and drifting. Just like a ship out on the sea. Well, I ain't got nobody in this world to care for me. Okay, one last embellishment that you could add is Clapton likes to do this, especially when he's doing the first verse of the song. I've seen it a lot from him. And that is, I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. So then you're like, the only thing you're changing is to be right at the beginning of the verse. Is rather than doing our to the A, he does this. He goes, I'm drifting and drifting. So he doesn't go to the 4 of the A string. He takes that same shape that we learned at the very beginning of the song. Okay, and he's taking that and he's just hitting the low E string and the 2nd on the B, and then he's taking that D7 shape that we slid up 2 frets. He's going like this. I'm drifting and drifting. So all that is he's taking it, hitting it a couple times, up strokes with the pick, and then he's sliding the G string 4th fret up to the 2nd fret of the G string, open. So it's kind of the same thing we did with that lick. 2nd, open, and then the 2nd of the D string, and then I'm drifting and drifting. So that's just another embellishment that you can add. Okay, the last thing I want to touch on today is kind of an idea for a solo. Again, Clapton does this. It's actually a B.B. King lick in there too that we'll learn. All right, so it's in kind of 3 parts. Over what you would do over the E7, what you would do over the A7, and what you would do over the B7. Okay, so let's say you just did this. You did your walk now that you just learned. Okay, now you want to impress folks a lot, and you want to do a little solo all by yourself on the guitar. Beautiful. It's what people want. It's what they pay to hear, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to hit the E string like you normally would, but rather than doing your shuffle, you're going to go like this. Okay, now again, I'm putting the pick back. You can still use the pick if you can and use your other fingers, totally fine. But I like to put the pick back, and I'm using my thumb and my middle and my ring finger. So here's what it sounds like. It goes like this. Okay, so what's that? What you're doing is you are sliding all the way up to the 12th fret of the B string and the 10th fret of the high E. And those are the 3 notes you're playing, the low E, and then the B and the E with your 12 and your 10, okay? So you're sliding up to that. Just kind of slide from 1 fret, right? Ooh, sorry, that was bad. You're sliding from that 1 fret down. So that would be what, the 11th of the B and the 9th of the high E, and you're sliding into that 12 and 10. Just do that a couple times. Okay, so what's that note? So what that is you're taking it from the 10 and the 12. So the 12 of the B, the 10 of the high E, going down to the 10th of the B string with your middle finger and the 9th of the high E with your pointer finger. And then you're taking that again down to the 8th of the B string and the 7th fret of the high E, all playing that low E with it. And then you're gonna do open. Okay, you kind of bend up that B string on the 8th fret with your middle finger, and then that 7th fret E string, kind of bend it up, get it real nasty with that, into open. Okay, so all together that's gonna sound. Repeat. Okay, now we're into what should be the A chord, the 4 chord. So what does he do to solo over that? I've heard him do this kind of cool lick that I like to do. You can do, or even, which is even simpler. It's just the 3rd fret of that high E up. You bend it up a little. So it's really just the 3rd fret of the high E and the 3rd fret of the B string, and you're alternating. So it's 3 of the high E, bend it up, open, 3rd fret of the B again, and then back to the 3rd fret of the A and bend it up, open. But that's cool, that's fine, you can do that. And then your lick, you know. Or you can do this when you go to the A. Okay, so what that is, so you're gonna go, you slide up to the B string of the fifth fret of the B string rather, and then you're gonna stretch to the, this would be the 8th fret of the B string, bend that up, and then you're gonna play the high E 5th fret, and then you're gonna play the 6th fret of the high E, but like it's a hammer-on. So a hammer-on is just you're playing the note, right? The 5th fret of the high E, hammering it on, which means you just quickly put your middle finger on the 6th fret and then pull it off. Back to the B string of the 8th fret, and then you end that little lick back on the B string of the 5th fret. So it's not like this. And you can even, and what you can also end it with, okay, and then we're back at that 5th fret of the B string, and then put your middle finger on the 7th fret of the G string, and then back to the 5th fret of the B string. So that was kind of confusing, but okay, that's what it sounds like. Okay, so that would be over the A7. So then we're going back into, okay, now we're doing our turnaround. Pick through that B7, just kind of pick through it. So people are like, where's he going after this? Do your low E string, hit your A7, and then watch this. Right into your turnaround. So what is that? That's a B.B. King lick, first of all. Alright, if you're gonna get real B.B. King, but this, so you're gonna slide up to the G string of the 6th fret. Oh. Okay, so sliding up to the G string, 6th fret, then you're playing on your pointer finger. You're gonna take the 5th fret of the B string. You can wiggle it a little bit if you're feeling real B.B. King-like. And then, this is gonna be a little bit of a walk down on the high E string, starting with the 7th fret, using your ring finger. And then watch this, you're gonna go 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret, all on the high E, and then open. Actually, I'm sorry, so don't do the open at the end. So after you hit the 5th fret, rather than doing open, so I messed up there, hit the 7th fret of the B string and bend it up. So it's a half bend. And then you're gonna go back to the 5th fret of the B, 5th fret of the B, 6th fret of the G, back to the 5th fret of the B, and then you can just hit your turnaround that you know, right? So all that together would be, do your shuffle in the middle of that solo, do it again. To the A, and then do your, what I forgot to mention is after you do it one time, then you go back to lick we know. Pick through that B7. Okay, so that's pretty much Driftin' Blues. And if you can add all that together, you can spice it up from being basically, again, you can start by just learning, just doing what we started at, the basics. I'm drifting, drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. Really get into that. I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. Well, I ain't got nobody in this world to care for me. So I didn't add any embellishments into that other than the walk up, which, you know, you don't even have to add that, and you're still sounding bluesy. You're still showing people, hey, I like this song and I like to play the blues. And then once you get that comfortable, you can start throwing in those little licks we learned, right? So I'm gonna do real quick the verse and a solo, and then I'm gonna call it because it's July and it's hot, and I'm sweating, but I'm doing this for y'all, right? And so here we go, real quick. There's that D7 shape, walk that thing all the way down, do your turnaround, your walk up to the B7, I'm drifting and drifting, the shuffle, throw the walk up in there, just like a ship out on the sea, back to your E7, oh, throw your lick in there, I'm drifting and drifting, just like a ship out on the sea. Well, I ain't got nobody in this world to care for me. Do you walk up? Or walk down, sorry. Alright, now it's solo time. Keeping that shuffle going. Down at the 12 and the 10. To the A. Up. Through that B string, that B7. If you're looking at fancy, by the way, with that solo and you want to really sound like B.B. King, just hit that high E string on the 12th fret, and then do your walk down. All right, that's Driftin' Blues. I'll leave a link in the description to the one that I put up on my channel if you would like to hear it. It's not going to be all the same licks because I don't know, sometimes I just play it differently. But that's trying to just break it down. Tried to keep it under 30 minutes. Didn't quite get it, but I'll try to keep these relatively short. Thanks, guys.